welcome everyone to Clobby'S Quick Bits, the big wrap up for uh, Clobby'S Comics Corner Spinner Rack Time Machine, November 1971, week one. Big shout out, as of course, because I forgot to do it last time like an idiot, to my wonderful first officer, the extraordinary, wonderful, lovely RM Raquel Briggs for that amazing intro, outro. I love you. I love you, RM. Okay, this week, folks, as you all know, when I started out, I did obviously, if you saw yesterday's video, it was for week one, and I showed you the comic books that I selected on my pull list, and it was that one, Daredevil 84. Well, you got it, you know what they are. You see. And again, this is, of course, just recap of the ones I bought. We're going to just talk briefly about the ones that I did not purchase, or at least did not have on my pull list, because we do 10 at a time. But they should get some coverage. They should get at least mentioned, because there are so many titles. So just basically, I'll cut it off at around the point where my choices are. You have Archie Giant series number 192. You have another Archie Giant series number 195. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that actually. It's called Giant series, but that's one is Christmas Love and the other is Jinx. So I do know how it works, but my brain doesn't work because I'm old and senile. Hey, this was 50 years ago and I was alive. That should tell you something. Attack number 3 by Charlton. Another Charlton comic, Blondie. Again, it's like I talk about every week. It seems like all these media tie-in comics back then by other companies, not by the big two, was always amuses me. The Bugaloos, another media tie-in comic by Charlton. Cheyenne Kid by Charlton. A lot of war comics back then. Fighting Army, Fighting Marines. Fighting Army, Fighting Marines. Charlton. Geronimo Jones by Charlton. Ghostly Haunts. Charlton was prolific. Good Lord. And they were around for a long time. They were huge for at least into the 80s. Ghostly Tales, Haunted, I Love You. Yep, romance series abounded back then. Love and Romance, Love Diary, The Partridge Family, another TV tie-in there. And again, I think people may be slightly annoyed with me on my stream the other day when I did my stream wrap-up of the October Spinner Rack Time Machine, that I'm somehow knocking these non-big two just because I only choose the superhero stuff. I admit I'm just a superhero geek. But I have every love and respect that the comics industry was so all over the place with genre and with the TV tie-ins, because this is prime representation of how diverse, I hate that word, and I hate the word representation, they've been destroyed, but for this, they work, of how thriving in an industry this was at the time, which always just, when you look back, even though you look back and you go, wow, comics were for everyone back then. Yes, and they were for youngsters, of course, but anyone could read them. You have horror titles from MF magazines, MF Enterprises magazine, That Guy, Crazy Guy, Tales from the Tomb, Underdog, Charlton. You had some Gold Key with a Walt Disney's Christmas Parade, another MF horror mag, a few of them, Witches, Weird, Falling in Love by DC. DC, got in on the game too, but I think they were probably lazy about it, and a lot of what they did was reprints. At that point, they'd done a lot of romance titles in the 50s, I believe. We have Jughead. We have Jughead's jokes. We have, again, Archie was huge. I have every respect for those things. When I'm just going by kind of when I was a kid, I bought the superhero stuff. I know a lot of you did, but a lot of you, shout out to D. Bud Martin, he bought a lot of the, I think he bought some Archie stuff. He liked a lot of the Harvey comics as well. And we have every respect for that here. Millie the Model, that's Marvel trying to get into the Archie game a little bit. Of course, probably reprints at that point, because Millie had existed sometimes earlier. Our Army at War, Sergeant Rock, a title I almost picked up on my list. Reggie and Me. Reggie's Wise Guy. Reggie had a couple of titles. How about that? That Wilkins Boy. That Wilkin Boy, number 16. Anyone ever heard of that? Again, look how many different genres of comics there were. I was just a superhero geek, I admit it, but I did pick a couple of Western books this week. I remember I picked these here, a whole straight line of those. And you got Daffy Duck and you got Ghosts. And there's a gold key there. I'll highlight that there because my wonderful friend, First Officer Raquel, and friend loves these painted covers. Woo. These came out after Halloween and back then even, and yet spooky covers, wacky races, Hanna-Barbera tie-in, Lancelot Link, Gold Key TV show tie-ins, Mod Wheels, and the last of the books I picked up. So we'll cover the rest of those next week in the quick bits, because that's what they're. It's supposed to be a quicker video, and it is. So yeah, there's all those different titles that were out there. It's just, as I said, evidence again of not only the diversity of choice that you had back then, but of course, the thriving industry, that there were that many publishers and that many titles. So, and that's one of the reasons why I love doing the Spinner Rack Time Machine, because to go back there and just see, when you see what a horrible, disease-ridden wasteland that comics are now, the medium, for me, in my opinion. And if you read modern and current comics, there's no judgment here. Fantastic. I hope you're having a good time. For me, as the old fogey sitting on the porch, I'm not having it. I can't stand the modern stuff anymore, and that's part of the reason I'm doing this. Just to have a little fantasy about how much fun it would be to go back and hit that Hey Kids Comics Spinner Rack again with my Spinner Rack Time Machine. So if you enjoyed this video, please take a look at my playlist below, where you can see all of the other playlists, all the other Clobby'S Comics Corner Spinner Rack Time Machine videos. They release every Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday for the main video and Thursday for the quick bits and wrap up. And of course, at the end of every month, I do a live stream talking about the whole month of and everything. So I want to thank you all once again for joining us. And again, big shout out to my wonderful First Officer Raquel. And have a wonderful rest of your weekend.